Hey, it's Mirella Manelli, and today I'm gonna show you how to achieve this dirty blonde shade utilizing two different highlighting techniques. So we're gonna be doing a combination of baby lights with some zigzag partings, and I can't wait to show you. So let's go ahead and get this video started. So to kick off this transformation, I want to really focus on adding in some baby lights and just overall adding in some more depth throughout. She has a lot of blonde ends here, and this is gonna be a really great color to transition into like a fall winter shade, perfect for blondes. Some of the things you can see here is she has this money piece or face frame that we're really loving, and it actually transitions all the way to that underside here. And what I saw going on in the back here is she has this line of demarcation with a lot of blonde in this mid zone. So what I'm looking to do is help diffuse a lot of this line. And this is gonna be pretty much like a little mini color correction in the back, nothing super major, but I'm really overall loving these little low lights and highlights that she has going on. We're just really looking to add in that depth. So to get started, I went ahead and sectioned her hair down the middle, and then from the apex right behind the ear, and then just keeping it separated from the front to the back. And we're just going to start right here below the occipital. My goal is to keep her money piece or her face frame still really blonde and bright. So we're just going to add in that low light right above that, because again, we want to keep this nice and blonde here. So to get started, I mixed up 3 different formulas. So we have 2 low light formulas going on, all with Demi-Permanent. I don't want to use permanent color here. We're just looking to deposit and add, again, that depth back in. So for her baby light, I'm using 8GB, equal parts of 7N, and we're going to blend that right into clear. And the goal with that is so that we add a little bit of that depth while leaving the ends nice and blonde, giving a really beautiful transition for the baby light specifically. And then every other foil from there, we're gonna be adding in a zigzag parting with 7NA and 7B, and we're just gonna go ahead and pull that through the ends. Now I'm gonna start out with this very first section here, and you can see she's pretty blonde, and this is also really close to her face frame. So what I'm gonna be doing here is adding in my baby light. And this is gonna be that 8GB formula. Again, I wanna keep this still kind of bright for her face frame. So I'm just gonna take this right up to the root. And since this is such a similar color to her natural color, I'm not so worried about it touching her scalp. We're gonna have a really nice transition with that. And then from here, I just went ahead and dragged that down to that mid zone. And this is where I'm gonna add in my clear and blend those 2 colors together. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and sandwich that down. And the reason why I'm gonna sandwich that down is because I don't want this clear to touch this top part. And I'm moving up horizontally. So the whole purpose of the horizontal placement is so we can get that blanket coverage kind of going on with our low light formula. So now I have my zigzag section here, and this is a really great technique, especially if you want to help diffuse lines of demarcation, which is going to be perfect for that harsh line that she has kind of going on up on the top. But we're gonna go ahead and deepen this. And you'll also notice I just left out a little bit of her face frame here on each side. Again, I wanna maintain that blonde that she has going on the exterior. So once I have my zigzag parting on the top and also on the bottom of my section, we have a very small dropout here as well. So I still wanna maintain some of her blonde, but our focus is adding in that depth. I'm gonna now take my weaving comb and insert it in the middle part of this section and pull this apart even further. So we have a little bit more added dropout here. Okay, so this one I'm gonna go ahead and drag this low light formula down. So keep in mind, this is the 7NA with 7B formula, so it's a lot cooler than the GB formula that we used. She already has quite a bit of warmth going on, and I think the GB formula is going to help enhance while controlling a little bit of that gold tone that she has, but this one is going to definitely cool it down some. I know some of her concerns was making sure we got rid of a lot of those brassy tones that she has going on, so this is definitely gonna help with that. Now, to keep me a little organized, I decided to use my magenta foils for my 8GB into that clear formula and my silver foils for my darker shade. This is just gonna help me know exactly where the placement's going to be. So if you have a hard time remembering what foils and what, this is kind of a really cool hack to try. Now, right when I get past this occipital, this is where I'll start to transition from my horizontal. Again, that's gonna give me that blanket coverage of that depth that we just added. And now we're going in with more of a diagonal. Now the diagonal is just gonna give us a little bit more coverage, also giving us some ribboning effect with this low light that we're gonna be adding in. So since our last one was our deeper shade, I'm just gonna go ahead and add in my baby light. I'm gonna add in my GB formula. And you can have kind of a little bit of fun with this too, with the placement, because you can see here, she has a lot more blonde going on here that I would like to deepen. And she's got a lot more depth towards the interior, which is great. But you can play around with the placement of this baby light essentially. So you can drag this down a little further towards the bottom on that interior. Now, if the hair is a little long, like hers is past this foil here, what I like to do, instead of swirling it around, because I don't want to mix it in with the clear, I want to drag it so that it blends together. I just lift that hair right on up and add another foil here. And now I have my clear on so we can preserve some of these ends. And I'm gonna do the same thing to the other side. So now that I have my two baby lights in my diagonal section, I'm gonna start out with a pretty wide zigzag parting. Again, this is gonna be my deeper shade as well. So now we're getting into that zone where she has a little bit of color correction going on, but nothing super major. So I have my zigzag parting, and I personally like these type of partings when I'm doing any type of diffusion of lines. And you can see clearly she's got a lot of dark here, and then we have a lot more blonder ends here. Now, even though we have a little bit of a dropout, it's not super major, but this section is pretty thick, and this usually intimidates a lot of stylists, but I'm telling you, this is the best technique if you're trying to diffuse lines, because we have kind of a wide section, an uneven wide section going vertically and horizontally here. And then in addition to our weaving comb, this is just such a great way to add in depth that makes it look really natural. So I'm gonna continue on with the same pattern throughout the entire top section here. I'm gonna take my baby lights in a diagonal section, and I'm gonna take all of my zigzags in a horizontal section. Now you can see here, her hair is a lot darker in the interior. So on these pieces, if you feel like you need to drag this one down just a little further and maybe a little less clear on the ends, that would totally work out really well too. The cool part is you can have a lot of fun with this creatively and just visualize where you want that depth to live. Now that I'm working in this zone where the section's pretty wide, I'm having a hard time connecting my diagonals here while still getting the coverage that I want. So what I'm gonna do is connect these with another horizontal, but we're gonna add a baby light in here. So we're just gonna start to break up that line. And then after I add in this baby light, I'm gonna show you exactly what I would do to do my zigzag parting if you don't have this comb. Now I want to show you how I would highlight my zigzag partings if you don't have this comb. Now I personally like this comb because it makes the weaving process go by so quickly, but in case you don't have it, I still would do my zigzag partings. And my biggest tip to you is if you are gonna start out with zigzag partings, don't worry about making them super perfect. That's the whole purpose of doing a zigzag parting, is that it is an imperfect section. So I'm gonna zigzag that top part and my bottom part. And again, if you don't have this comb, all you're gonna do is brush this hair out nice and flat. You're not gonna wanna pinch it like this. You're gonna wanna make sure it's as fanned out as possible. And then you're gonna highlight towards the bottom. Now, the way you get the maximum control from that highlight is by weaving really close to the scalp area. You'll get a great precision and on scalp base highlights. But for something like this, we want it to look really natural, and the way you do that is by highlighting down here. This is how you're gonna get those really imperfect or perfectly imperfect sections. So I'm gonna continue on with the same pattern until I finish the back, and then I'll show you exactly what I'm gonna do to the sides. Now I'm finished with the back, and I think we did a really great job of diffusing that line. I'm just gonna go ahead and continue to let that process, and I'm gonna move on towards the front. Now, something to note for the front area specifically is we wanna maintain her face frame. So you can see she has lots of blonde going on right here on her hairline. So my goal is to just deepen this interior hair. So we're gonna continue on with the same technique of zigzags with the baby lights and drag some more of this natural hair a little further down and still maintain the brightness around her face. So for this front section, I'm gonna go ahead and leave her center part that she has going on. That's pretty much where she normally parts it. And to further diffuse this face frame, I'm gonna go ahead and zigzag this out as well. I feel like this will break up the line seamlessly, and we'll be able to leave out these blonde pieces right through here. So I'm just gonna go ahead and clip this face frame away. That way I know exactly what hair is being left out. And a really good little tip here is usually you're dealing with some sparseness around that temple area. So what you wanna do is just visualize how much of that hair do you really wanna leave out. And I feel like this is gonna give me just enough for a kind of a bolder face frame, which is what we wanna still maintain here. So, and plus she has this really cute little fringe here, which will shape up a little bit later, but I think this is the proper amount that we're looking for. So I'm gonna go ahead and clip that away so I don't get that mixed in with my other section. Now you can see I have like this little triangular section, totally normal. And just to kick that off, I'm gonna zigzag this section here. And I'm gonna go ahead and highlight this entire section with my comb. So this is gonna give me a lot of low lights coming from multiple directions. So I'm just gonna take another section right on top here. Now, something that I also like to do instead of baby lighting right here at the base, which is pretty much what I did in the back, mostly because she had so much dark going on, it wasn't as important. But now that we're towards the front and she has a lot of blonde that I would really like to still deepen up, like I mentioned earlier, is just highlight towards the bottom here. This just gives a little bit more of an organic feel to how the highlights are falling. So you can see our highlights aren't very perfect towards the top. So again, if you want that uniformity, weaving right at the scalp area is gonna be the best bet. But as I'm working towards the front, I just want something very natural. So that's what I'm gonna go with for here. I'm also still gonna blend this into our clear formula, so that will not change. Anytime I'm doing a blonde, I really like incorporating clear because number one, it doesn't have any color, but it just starts to hollow out that original shade, just really nice and sheer, and gives a really beautiful transition while still giving the slightest little bit of deposit from RGB color. Now I'm gonna continue to work horizontally throughout the sides, alternating my zigzag partings and my baby light partings. Little quick tip is when you are doing low lights on a blonde, especially if they're really porous, it can be really easy to get a lot of spottiness, and that just comes from your application. So really make sure that you're pushing that color through to all sides. Now that I'm at the very top where her natural part is at, I want to make sure that this line is broken up. So I'm just gonna take a really shallow zigzag parting and drop it to the other side. And I'm also gonna take another really shallow zigzag parting underneath. And what I'm gonna do with this entire section here is we're gonna weave it with our comb. So now I'm complete with one side. I'm gonna do the same thing to the other side, making sure that face frame matches up pretty similarly. We got our zigzag partings, got a lot of diffusion going on. I'm gonna keep this little tiny bit of hair left out because I still wanna have just a little kiss of those blonde highlights that she already has. And once she's all done, we're gonna let her process for at least 20 minutes with our Demi-Permanent formula, and then we're gonna do her final glaze. Now that she's all done processing, I went ahead and shampooed her out, and now what I'm gonna do is use the porosity equalizing spray. This is the perfect product to use right before doing any color service, but specifically toning, because when we're working with somebody who's been really blonde and we're adding in some depth back in, the hair's probably really porous, and this is gonna allow for even color absorption and processing. So I'm gonna go ahead and spray a generous amount of this. And don't worry if the hair is not porous or it's maybe uneven porosity. That's exactly what this is for. It's gonna even the porosity out. So even if the hair is really healthy, it's not going to harm the color processing whatsoever. So just remember that the hair naturally likes to live in that 4.5 to 5.5 on the pH scale. So that's why this is a really great prep product. I love having this at my station or even at my back bar. So what I have mixed up here is GV Rapid Toner. So I'm gonna just get this on pretty quickly here. And I'm just gonna apply this from roots to ends. The GB Rapid Toner is gonna give me a gold violet reflection to help neutralize a lot of these golden tones and brassy tones that she has left over. But we're still gonna be left with a gorgeous golden base. And what I love about the Rapid Toners is they literally process in 5 minutes or less. So I went ahead and mixed this up at a 1:2 mixing ratio. And you can see this glides on the hair really nicely. Since I'm just using one color here, that's pretty much why I'm working in horizontal sections. If I were doing a color melt, I probably would have a little bit more of a purposeful pattern when applying a toner formula. But we're just looking to get this on uniformly really quickly. So you can already see how much depth we added in with our 2 different low light formulas. We added in a lot of depth throughout the ends, and then you can even see in some areas where that GB formula into the clear, we're still getting those little pops of blonde throughout. And so this GB Rapid Toner is just designed to go in and tone all those leftover blonde pieces that we got going on. So I'm not looking to make her hair any darker than what we already have going on with our first formula. We just want to help enhance that golden tone while also neutralizing at the same time. Now that she's all toned and styled, I wanted to walk you through and give you a little recap of everything that we did today. So you can see we took her really blonde hair and also did a little mini color correction by adding in some depth, utilizing 2 different weaving patterns. So the baby light and the zigzag partings really made a huge impact in adding in dimension, so that way we can achieve that dirty blonde. I think this is a really great technique for anybody who's looking to diffuse any lines of demarcation or maybe maintain their natural foundation shade and break up some old highlights. So I really hope you enjoyed this hair tutorial, and if you did, please give this video a thumbs up, make sure to subscribe, and be sure to check out my other hair tutorials right here on this channel, and I will see you on the next video.